Okay, if you're a student, a researcher, or really anyone who deals with academic papers, I need you to do something for me. Stop reading them. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy, right? But the way most of us just plow through a paper from start to finish, it's a total waste of time. Today, we're going to break down a method that will completely flip how you approach literature, save you a ton of hours, and most importantly, help you actually get what it's all about. Let's dive in.
Look at this number, 90%. This isn't just some random stat. It represents the huge amount of time and effort that goes down the drain when we read research papers without really truly understanding them. It's the reason so many of those late nights in the library just end in total frustration. You know, there's actually a name for this. It's called the illusion of reading. It's that feeling when you've read every single word on every page, but when you're done, you couldn't tell someone what the paper's main question was. You can't explain how they tested it or what the big takeaway is. It's totally passive, it's inefficient, and honestly, you learn almost nothing. If this sounds a little too familiar, trust me, you are not alone. But there's an antidote to this. It's a game changer called the three-pass approach. It was developed by S. Keshav at the University of Waterloo. And this isn't just another study tip. This is a legit professional skill, designed by researchers to help other researchers break down even the most dense and complicated papers out there. Using this method means you have to make a pretty big mental shift. Your goal isn't just to read anymore. Your new goal is to extract information. And you're going to do it in 3 totally separate stages, or passes, each one building on the last. First, the map, then the argument, and finally, the reconstruction. So let's get into it. Pass 1 is all about the overview. Seriously, think of it like this. You wouldn't just wander into a huge, dense forest without looking at a map first, would you? Of course not. And that's exactly what we're doing here with the paper. The whole point here is to get that bird's eye view, not to get bogged down in all the little details. And that's why there's a super strict time limit, just 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. This forces you to make a quick call on whether the paper is even worth your time, which could save you hours right off the bat. So, how in the world do you do that in just 10 minutes? Well, here's your checklist. First, you carefully read the title, the abstract, and the introduction. Then, and this is the absolute key, you skip ahead and read only the section and subsection headings. You ignore all the text in between, jump straight to the conclusions, and finally, you just glance over the list of references to see whose shoulders they're standing on. After those 10 minutes are up, you hit the Pass 1 exit test. You need to be able to answer 5 key questions, which we'll call the 5 C's. And listen, if you can't answer them, or if the paper just doesn't seem useful, you stop right there. And that's not quitting, that's being strategic. That's focus. So what are these 5 C's? Here they are. First, category. What type of paper is this? Is it a measurement study, a description of a new system? Second, context. How does it relate to other papers in the field? Third, correctness. Do their big assumptions seem plausible on the surface? Fourth, contributions. What are the main new things this paper brings to the table? And finally, clarity. Is it actually well written? If you can nail these down, you've successfully made your map. All right, so the paper passed your 5C test. It looks like it's worth a closer look. Welcome to Pass 2. This is where we go deeper and really get a handle on the paper's core argument. Now, your goal is to grasp the real content, the meat of the paper. But, and this is important, you're still ignoring the super fine details like the complicated mathematical proofs. You're going to give yourself up to an hour for this, and your most important tool here is a pen. We are officially done with passive reading. This is all about active engagement, marking things up, writing in the margins, really questioning the text. Your checklist for Pass 2 basically turns you into a detective. Your mission is to follow the author's train of thought. You're tracking every major claim they make, and you're highlighting the evidence they use to back it up. Along the way, you're also circling any interesting references you might want to read later. And a huge part of that evidence, by the way, is in the visuals. And here is a massive pro tip for this pass. You need to study the graphs, figures, and tables like your own reputation depends on it. Be skeptical. Ask the hard questions. Are the axes clearly labeled? Are there error bars on the data points? And the biggest question of all, do the results you see in this graph actually support the big conclusion the authors are making? This is where you can spot a lot of weak arguments. Okay, time for the exit test for Pass 2. It's simple, but it's tough. Put the paper down, turn it over. No notes. Now, try to explain the paper's main argument and all its key supporting evidence out loud. Could you explain it to a friend? If you can't do it from memory, you don't really own it yet. Time to go back. So, if you've made it through Pass 2, you're ready for the final stage. This is the big one. Pass 3, the reconstruction. This is what really separates someone who has just read a paper from an expert who truly understands it.
The goal here is nothing less than complete mental ownership of the paper. You're not just a reader anymore. You're thinking like a peer of the author. You're trying to mentally re-implement the entire work. It's like you're rebuilding it from the ground up, inside your own head. This takes some really deep, critical thinking. You start asking some tough questions. Why did they choose this specific method instead of that other one? What are the hidden assumptions they're not even talking about? What part of their argument totally falls apart if one of those assumptions is wrong? And then, the most creative and important question of all, if it were you, how would you have done it differently? This is how new research ideas are born. And the final exit test, it's the ultimate proof of mastery. You should be able to reconstruct the entire logical structure of the paper purely from memory, not just what they did, but what its biggest strengths and most fatal flaws are, and where it fits in the grand scheme of things. Okay, I know that was a lot to take in, but the real power of this system is how simple and structured it is. So let's bring it all together on one single cheat sheet that you can start using right away. And here it is, the whole thing on one page. You've got Pass 1, the map, your quick 10-minute scan to pass the 5 C's test. Then Pass 2, the argument, a deeper, hour-long dive where you test yourself by explaining it out loud. And finally, Pass 3, the reconstruction, the expert level, where you mentally rebuild the whole thing from scratch. Map, argue, reconstruct. That's the process that will change how you learn. So just remember, the goal was never, ever to just read the paper. The goal is to own it, to absorb its knowledge so deeply that you can almost see how they built it. This method gives you the tools to do exactly that. So the only real question left is, how are you going to rebuild the next paper that you pick up?